Hi, this is composer and educator Dr. Scott Watson to share with you one of the most fascinating and useful devices that composers use when they're composing music. It's called the rule of threes. It's fascinating because it appears in so much music, and it's useful because it's just the kind of thing that somehow connects with our humanness. So here's what the rule of threes is. It's you present some music, then you repeat that music to give context, and then you vary it. So present, repeat, for context, and vary. So for instance, when Beethoven starts his Fifth Symphony with da 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 da, right? That's the presenting, and then da 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 da. Now it is at a different pitch level, but it's repeated the same rhythm. But then it goes on da 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 da, right? It gets developed. So the idea of present, then give context, like, oh, I hear an idea, but now I know that this idea is important enough to repeat it, and this is now something that I can say as a listener, that's what the piece is about, and then it's varied for interest, right? Mozart did the same thing in the opening of his Symphony number 40 in G minor. We hear this little three-note motif, and then we hear that motive repeated, and then we hear that motive varied, right? So the idea that it's presented, then it's repeated for context, and then varied. Probably my favorite example of a rule of three is in the 20th century. Is Aaron Copland's Third Symphony. The second movement, which is a fast movement, starts with this five-note, sort of Lydian-sounding horn call, and then it's repeated, and then it's varied, very much like the Beethoven example. Let's just listen to that, and I'll show you to illustrate the rule of threes in the opening of Copland's Third Symphony, Movement 2. That's a great symphony, by the way. You should check out the entire Copland Third Symphony. In any case, that brings us up to the current time, and I've used the rule of threes a lot in my music. When I work with composers as students, I often encourage them to use it among many other devices that composers can use to develop their music, but it comes up a lot. Probably the composition of mine where I've used it the most thoroughly, and I did it almost as an exercise in the rule of threes, is a composition for young band called Hercules versus the Hydra. I'd like to play for you an annotated example, video example of about the first 1/3 of Hercules versus the Hydra. That would be the exposition of the piece, where I've marked up all of the uses of the rule of threes in this composition. I do want to say before I show this to you that if you would listen to Hercules versus the Hydra, I do not think you'd be distracted by this overuse of the rule of threes. I think it just really works organically for this particular piece, which is why I used it. But if I show you this video, you're going to see that it's really all over the piece. And I think that's kind of a cool thing that we can use something like the rule of threes to develop music. Anyway, here's the exposition or the opening 1/3 of my composition, Hercules versus the Hydra, annotated to show you the rule of threes. And there you have it. When I work with younger composers, I find that they have great ideas. In fact, sometimes they have so many great ideas, they present just one great idea after the other in a piece they're working on, rather than just presenting one idea or maybe two and developing those few ideas. I found that most composers of music of lasting worth, like Bach, like Mozart, like Beethoven, like Copland, they're very efficient, economic composers, so they're not wasteful. They'll have one idea or maybe two that they develop exhaustively, and so the rule of threes is a great way to do that. So again, just to summarize how to use this, you state something, you repeat it to give context to that idea. Remember, repetition sort of lends intelligibility. It tells the listener what your piece is about. If you don't repeat anything, they'll never know what your piece is about. So you state it, you repeat it, and then you vary it. And that is the rule of threes.